welcome to No Instructions. I'm Bob.
And I'm Josh.
We're back. 2 weeks in a row.
Man, it's almost a roll. Not quite on a roll. If we do it one more time, then we'll be on a roll.
Yeah. We're doing it again. Back in the saddle.
Yeah, concurrent.
Yeah. Hope everybody's doing well. First off, would like to thank everyone who left us comments, send us messages after last week's show. I know I had quite a few people reach out and were very complimentary and thankful and helpful.
As did I. It was like emotion. Let me say how to say this. It was emotionally overwhelming in a good way. That like there were so many people that I have never met, never talked to, that either opened up that, you know, they were open to like be a listening post, or that what we had talked about was a way for them to seek help because normally they wouldn't. And so I got a little choked up at a couple messages because people were they reciprocated that openness and that vulnerability. And man, I am not used to that. But it was encouraging, and I'm glad that this silly little thing that we're doing here resonates with people on a deeper level than just background commute noise.
Yeah, I agree. Speaking of background noise, I need to open another bag because there's
100
2 bag 6s.
So the Lego Land Rover,
Yes.
had only 4 numbers, but I think 16 bags. No, it was more than that.
Really?
18 bags, but they were all broken up by like one subset of 6 bags, 2 subset of like 8 bags. Yeah, they just like, maybe we don't want to overwhelm people, or maybe their graphic designer is like stacked numbers side by side. We can only do single digit inside that little white circle.
I do think there is a difference in how they bag things based on whether it's an expert set or a creator set or a system set. I've noticed that, like, I guess this is an ideas set, so I'm not really sure where that one would fall. But I think we were doing one of the expert sets, and it was bagged really differently.
Yep, it had many bags. And then if you do one that is this or that, they're not numbered at all. Because then the numbering convention wouldn't be the same for both models.
Oh, right. Huh.
Lego was so fun.
Yeah.
Just weird.
So a little humble brag. Not that I had anything to do with it. I just know a guy.
Oh, yeah.
So my friend Anthony, not Anthony that works with us. He's not my friend. I'm just kidding. My other friend Anthony, who I've known a long time. I've known this other guy since we live in Savannah. He lived in Savannah. He went to SCAD, got his master's there. And he and his wife, and at the time 2 kids, now they have 3 kids, they moved to get a job, for him to get a job with Lego. Big graphic designer. And so they moved to Denmark, like, gosh, I don't know, 4 years ago, 5 years ago, quite a while. And his wife is also a graphic designer. She ended up working part-time for them and then got a full-time. So then now they both work for Lego, doing different things. He does a lot of packaging. And so a lot of the city sets he's done packaging for. He's done, I feel like some of the Spider-Man. I may be wrong about that. But anyway, he's done quite a bit of it. And so we're watching the Lego announcement video the other day for the NES, or not the announcement, but it was they were talking about the design.
Their deep dive behind the scenes kind of.
And he's like on a video from Lego. Yeah. That's so cool. And he's hyper shy when it comes to like people he doesn't know. Super nice, and you know, if you know him, he's like talkative and stuff. It was really surprising to see him on a video. I mean, obviously, I haven't really hung out with him in many years because he's been in another country, so maybe that's not a big deal anymore. But I remember him being a little like, you know, I don't like big crowds, I don't like being in front of people and stuff like that. And he did an awesome job talking about his work on the Lego thing, so that was cool to see. So last time we talked about this time doing something fun.
I was trying to chase your
in our last episode, we spoke about our future episode. Dang it, you know what I'm trying to say. Today, we're going to do something more fun.
Last time we talked about this time.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we're going to not talk about the depressing stuff that happened in the world or the things that unless we need to. That's fine if it comes up. It's cool. but I thought it would be fun to talk about something fun.
Yeah.
And we don't know what that is. We didn't come up with
No.
anything. But I think there's some stuff that we're enjoying right now or looking forward to that we can talk about. Let's talk about your motorcycle, because that's like the first thing. And you've made some progress.
I am excited.
Fill everybody in on your progress.
I am now excited about the motorcycle rather than looking out into my hot, dark garage going, blech. I was really excited about the motorcycle for quite a while. And like someone who is truly excited about something but has no frame of reference on how to actually productively use that excitement, I did everything in the complete wrong order.
Not everything.
I did the important parts absolutely last.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so in the wrong order.
Yeah, complete wrong order. And while I started doing it, I'm like, yeah, I got this junky bike that's full of broken, rusted, whatever parts. And people are like, does it run? I'm like, I don't know. But I'm going to paint it and make it look cool. So I have a painted, cool-looking motorcycle that doesn't work. And all along the way, it's been like, I've been very timid about taking that next step because I was afraid of finding out if it did or if it didn't work. And so I got a new starter and bike doesn't work. I don't really know why. People are super kind on Instagram and telling me like, oh, you got to check this and you got to check that. And I don't know what any of that stuff means. It's like if we were trapped on the moon and you asked like a knitting party in Arizona, like, how are we going to get them dudes off the moon? Like, it's not going to equate. You could explain all the right answers, but it's just the vernacular is not the same. I don't understand what you're talking about.
Yeah.
So after last week, I got a big burst of motivation. And again, I don't know why I didn't do this in the first place, but I just Googled, like, I need help with my motorcycle. Because there is a Honda, like a Honda Motorsports dealer, like, near my house. And those guys are like, yeah, it's old. I'm like, well, yeah, but like I still need help with it. They're like, but yeah, it's old, and we don't want to help because it's kind of old.
It's a different shop, but they did that with my Land Cruiser. It was the same response. It's old, and if I start pulling a string, then I'm gonna have to pull all the strings, and I don't want to mess with it.
We don't know if we'll be able to get parts. Yeah. And my response back to that, not openly, was, well, if you run into a problem that you can't fix, then tell me that, and I will take it home.
Right.
You don't own it. You are not racing it in the Grand Prix. I'm not forcing you to like trade. Like, just give it back to me. And so I did that a couple times, and I looked up a salvage lot specifically for motorcycles, which I didn't think there was a thing specifically for motorcycles. I just thought like there's a field of broken cars and you need to find like a fender. I imagine there'd be some motorcycles sprinkled in there somewhere, but there are some specifically for bikes.
That's a piece.
Ooh. And you got about 1 million of them, so good luck with that. But I found one, and the guy was willing to like give me a little bit of help. So I packaged it up, drove all the way to Louisville with the gigantic box of parts, like original parts that the guy gave me before. And they did a test. I actually did a compression test. And a compression test, like, I'm going to educate everybody on motorcycles because I am now an expert in non-functioning motorcycles.
Ah,
there you are.
another bag. Okay.
But to get the engine to work, it has valves. One valve opens to let in air and fuel. It closes. The piston comes up. Explosion happens. Motorcycle goes forward.
Boom!
Other valve opens to get rid of the exhaust, right? So there's an intake and an exhaust valve. And they're little pucks, and they close up and they make a tight seal so that you can actually have compression. So you run a compression test, not just a clever name. I did that, and one of the cylinders had no compression. Like, I don't know why. And so I tried to take it apart, and then I got to a point where I'm like, I'm going to break something because I don't know what I'm doing. Went to his shop. They did what's called a leak down test, which is pretty much the same thing, where they like put air in it, and they see how much the air pressure drops. And they did it on the one side, and air just like rushed out. So he pretty much told me I had to tear the whole thing down and look in this one specific area because like it was the problem. So he gave me direction where before I didn't really have direction. And he gave me some tips. He's like, oh, make sure when you put it back together, do this. And so I got to the house and tore it all apart. And I got like the engine torn apart. I got the valve cover, which is like the top. And I got the middle part off. And the middle part is where my problem is. And I can see like
my kids are horses.
That valve that they were talking about. I look at it and there's a big old gap. Like air's going right through it, light's going right through it. Like, yeah, that thing is not seating. I'm like, there's my problem. Holy crap. This whole time, it's just like, oh, it's old and junky and it doesn't work.
Right.
And now I can like point to the thing.
Specific thing, yeah.
And he told me how, well, in a very like good old boy garage kind of way. He's like, well, just hit this piece real hard with a socket and then the rest of these pieces will fly out and then you can take it off. And so I like bashed on this thing with a hammer for a minute and nothing happened. And then I
said
stopped.
socket, not hammer.
Yeah. And it's the whole way. It's like I'm going to go out blindly, make a dumb mistake, and then go, oh, wait a minute. I should have brought logic with me. And then I got to go back and get common sense and bring it to where I currently am and go, oh, this is what I should be doing.
Well, but at the same time, if you don't start with the right vocabulary and you don't have the context for what you're talking about, like you don't even know what you don't know. And that's part of the interesting thing about projects like that is that you're trying to solve a problem and you don't know the pieces of the problem until you do all of a sudden. And then things can start to fall into place. But there's a whole big, long path that you're just surrounded by unknowns until you get to the right thing. So,
and I think the point that we've made about like the steel yard, like afraid or being timid because you don't understand the words or you don't understand exactly how to articulate what it is that you need, or feeling dumb. Like I was in the shop, like there were probably 8 bikes up on stands, and it looked like a motorcycle scrapyard had just like thrown up everywhere else that was a flat surface. And he's like, okay, yeah, once you get them things out, you need to lap the valves. And once you lap the valves, you got to clean them off and put them back in, do your another. I'm like, right, yeah, okay, sure. Mm-hmm. And then I stopped and go, he's saying words you don't understand. This is your opportunity to gain knowledge from someone who seems to know what they're talking about.
Yeah.
I'm like, what does that mean? What is lapping? I don't know what that means. He's like, oh, yeah, then you need to get this compound. This is lapping compound. And he goes in and explains it to me. I'm like, oh. Well, I completely understand that logic now. I didn't think that would be a step. I don't know if it's covered in the manual. I haven't got that far.
Right.
But that place of humility and not embarrassment to go like, excuse me, I don't know those last 12 words that you just said. Right. Can you say them slower?
What's ironic about that is that we've talked about it before. We do it in the metal yard or a place that you don't know. You have that same mentality. But if you're like talking to a person you barely know, and like for you specifically, somebody was like, you know what? I don't know anything about 3D printing. Can you tell me about 3D printing? You would be like, heck yes, I can. Let's go. Like, I would love to tell you about this thing that I'm excited about, this thing that I look into all the time and I spend my time thinking about, or whatever the thing is. It's so funny that we put it on other people that they're going to be annoyed that we don't have their level of like expertise on something, when most people are just excited to talk about the things that they like,
And it was funny, I was in this salvage shop, and the guy was like, well, you're going to need probably some new gaskets, and you're going to need a new kind of whatever. I'm like, okay, crap. I'm like, okay, I guess I'll just like look that stuff up on eBay, I guess. And I kind of made a face, and he looked at me, he goes, or you could ask me, and I could go get one off the shelf, because that's what we do here.
That's awesome.
Oh, yeah.
That's great.
Yeah. And then another part of me was I was looking past all these bikes, these like older late 70s, early 80s, kind of like mine if it were stock. And some of them like had black engines, like flat black, cool looking, and some of them had really shiny ones where they had polished them. And I had my engine on a little dolly, and I'm like, man, that'd be cool to like paint my engine to make it look cool. But I'm like, that seems really superficial, and these guys are talking about lapping valves and all this very minute detail. I'm like, it would be really like high schooler of me to go like, yeah, man, can I like paint it like a cool color?
Make it look cooler.
And so I like, again, very timid. I'm like, so I thought about maybe like putting, I saw one outside that was kind of like nice looking. He's like, oh yeah, that one I painted black. I'm like, yeah, that looks fun. Like, how feasible is that? And he went and got this paint, and he's like, oh yeah, this paint is the best paint that we sell this paint here. He's like, I did this and this and this. And he looks at my engine, and he's like, did you clean that one? I'm like, well, yeah, I think I did a pretty good job. I tried to make it look not garbage looking. He was like, you could totally just do all this. He's like, you just need this one can, and you can make this whole thing look exactly like this one right here. I'm like, well, that's cool. He didn't think I was some immature idiot who just wants like, can I have cool lights on mine? Like, they were very excited, just like you're saying, about sharing what they knew and not laughing at me like I'm some noob who walked into their shop and like is going to make them do extra work. Because the majority of the work that they did in there, I did myself. Right. I picked up a ratchet because their tools were all over the place, and I did most of the wrenching while they helped. And then they would normally charge like a shop fee, But the giant box of like OEM parts that I brought with me, I just gave that to them in exchange for their time.
That's awesome.
So I walked out there with knowledge, with my engine, like with a diagnosis, and then with less clutter in my garage. So for me, it was a win all around.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
But now I needed to wait on a tool, and that tool I think should arrive today. The in lieu of like hitting it with a hammer and a socket, like the proper tool, which isn't all that expensive. Like that thing is coming in the mail.
Cool.
And then I get to clean more stuff.
Yay!
Yeah.
Degreaser.
Yeah. So I am. Oh, and I gave the carburetor away, or not away. That sounded bad.
I don't need this thing.
I gave that to a shop that specializes in cleaning and retrofitting the carburetor. So it was also one of those things that like, you're smarter than me and you can do it way better than I could blindly do it. So I'll spend $100 or so or whatever they were asking to have it done right. So I can factor that out. Mm-hmm. And so in my mental checklist and like looking at the motorcycle, once I get the carburetor back and I fix this valve problem, theoretically, that motorcycle could work. Mm-hmm. And then I can win. I'm going to drive it over here with no license.
Get arrested on
I have
the way.
a helmet, and I'm going to win.
Win. What are you winning exactly?
We're winning the thing we talked about. Whoever shows up to the other person's house on their 2 wheels wins.
I don't remember that.
I remember it.
Thank you.
Oh, wow. I don't remember that at all. Well, give me
people remember.
Give me
you
a couple
guys
of days.
remember.
I'll get that mine running. And
because you had the Vespa on Instagram the other day, and I'm like, no, I went through all this work, and you're just like, oh, I'm just going to spray mine off with a hose and then just win real quick. Like, no.
I don't remember that at all. That's funny.
I'm going to win. Win the money.
Well, taking the carb is a really good idea because that's one of those things that I think unless you've done it enough times to really know what you're doing, it's like it's kind of a shot in the dark.
That dude asked me so many questions.
Yeah.
And he didn't make me feel stupid, but I could tell that, like, I openly admitted, like, look, I don't know what you're asking me. There was a bag of parts that said carburetor rebuild kit. So I took everything I could possibly take off. I cleaned it as best as I thought it should be cleaned. And then I hot swapped the stuff that was in the rebuild bag with the dirty stuff that was on it. And he's like, well, what size was this and this? I'm like, again, you're asking the wrong questions. Because I don't even know. That's why I'm paying you.
Yeah.
So I don't have to know.
Whoop. Well, cool. I'm glad to hear that. So,
people were excited to see your Vespa, though.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's just because it's pretty. It's in pretty bad shape though. That photo that I posted made it look a lot nicer than it actually is.
That's half of the reason that you own a motorcycle, right? It's just to look cool.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, it's in pretty bad shape. I don't know. It's old. It needs a lot of work to get to be pretty. But at the same time, like after cleaning it off yesterday for the first time in a really, really, really long time, I was like, well, it doesn't really need a full restoration. It could use one. Yeah. And it would look nicer, but it doesn't need it. There's just some spots that need probably just to be sanded down and primed so that they don't rust and get it running and then I don't know, sell it or figure out what to do with it or whatever. But
and then we can make a biker gang.
Yeah, I mean, I still feel the same way about riding 2 wheels. I'm interested in getting it running again. I'm interested in getting the Harley put together and working, but I don't actually want to ride them still, you know?
That's kind of the situation that I'm in. I think my desire to want to fix the problem and to make it work and to have that like Doc Brown, like, aha moment. But Marty can go ride it. Like that's fine. I just want to know that it works and that I did it. And I'm still really nervous, and I cannot get a motorcycle learner's permit in Kentucky because of COVID. Everything is like by appointment only, and they are not accepting any appointments.
Oh.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I can't take the motorcycle safety course, I think, without having a learner's permit. And I can't take a learner's permit without taking a test in person. And I can't take a test in person until the world fixes itself.
Huh.
So I'm just going to be a rebel because that's what you do on motorcycles.
That's right. That's the whole idea.
Yeah.
Well, that's cool. Hope you don't get arrested.
I think I would get...
You'd get a slap on the wrist, probably.
I'll have a helmet on.
I'm already better than half the
Yeah.
people in Kentucky.
Come on, man. That should give me some bonus points.
And in case you're listening, Kentucky does not require helmets by law, which is idiotic. I'll just go ahead and say.
Hooray for your freedoms.
Doesn't make any sense to me.
You're going to pick your freedoms up off of the pavement if you crash.
Yeah. All right. What else is going on?
It's literally the only thing. How are you?
I'm pretty good.
Good.
Doing all right. I started looking a little more seriously for some sort of a older Land Cruiser to, I don't know, to redo. It's one of those things. It's like I want to find one to rebuild or to kind of have in the background to work on here and there. I don't really have money to buy one, so I'm not really sure why I'm looking. I think I'm just hoping I'll come across like some really good deal and be able to justify it. I don't need another vehicle, so it's not like I can justify spending much money on it. And we have all these other big things that are kind of long term that I really should be. If I was going to have free time to put into something, I should put it into our kitchen or into the idea of the cabin or something like that, not really a vehicle. But I'm just interested, so.
It's really weird that those little things that kind of catch your fancy, and they're naggy. It's like the woodpecker in your brain.
Mm-hmm.
They're like, no, I don't need you. You're not really needed around here. You're like, yeah, but it would be cool. It'd be really nice.
Yeah.
You could have an e-bike that could go 70 miles an hour. We're like, no, I don't want that. I have a motorcycle already that I don't really like. Yeah, but you could have two. Like, no, that's just silly. Yeah, it's the fun kind of silly.
Yeah, so I don't know if I'll actually do something like that or not. It would be cool to have. It'd be cool to work on more than have, actually, I guess. But
As frustrating as the motorcycle has been, it has been when I have been able to be like mentally clear enough to value it. It has been a really good distraction for all this, like to keep myself busy. We have some big house projects kind of in that same vein. Like I'm supposed to be building and designing a pergola. But the valve is sticking, so I can't build anything else because the valve is sticking.
That's right.
So it has been a pretty nice like puzzle to kind of keep some motivation going when that motivation came around again. So I am glad that that's there.
So I was curious about. We haven't talked about like TV or movies in a while because there haven't been any.
No.
We just finished Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., which I know you didn't watch.
I've watched some of it. I think I'm probably 4 or 5 episodes in. And I know that any good show that I would tell somebody to watch, I would first have to preface it. Go, you got to get through the first whatevers. Yeah. I don't have that same kind of tenacity. I'm just like, I don't want to watch this anymore. And then I click through it. So that's how far I am in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Well, I mean,
I should probably watch more because I feel like I would be interested in it.
I mean, I don't know. It's not great, but it's one of those things where like I was just kind of, it's a Marvel thing, and so I just kind of wanted to see how it played out, and then kind of kept watching it. I enjoy it, but it's not. I won't say that it's like it's a really good show and you totally need to watch it, and it doesn't necessarily add anything really important to the MCU at large. But
I've heard people say that it adds like some backstory because I guess it's intercut in the background of what's going on in the MCU.
Kind of, yeah. I don't want to spoil anything in case somebody's not through, because I mean the finale aired last week, so this is slight spoiler. I just don't want to, I won't go all the way in through it. But they do in the last season. There's some time travel stuff, and that becomes pretty cool in that you get to see the beginnings of S.H.I.E.L.D. and Hydra and how some of that stuff happened and how you can see how it would affect the movies and affect the bigger scenes in the movies and stuff without without seeing the major characters that you know of. You kind of hear little things here and there. And then in the finale, they did a really good job. It was one of the best, I think, wrap-ups of any of their storylines. They did a really good job of taking a thing that kind of like Endgame, where it's like everything's bad. They're not going to get out of this one. And they have a really really clever setup for how they kind of finish out the whole series. And I think their like solution to the problem that they were set up for, I'm trying to be as general as possible. The solution that they come up with in the very last episode, or that you see in the very last episode, for the thing that they were set up with at the beginning of the season, I think was really well played. And that overall, the show I don't think matters to the MCU. That little piece, I think, would have done good for the MCU people who know the rest of the movies to have seen. Okay. I think it was like the way that Endgame used time travel to go back and fix things and kind of wrap things up. I think they did something a little bit smarter. So, yeah.
We, as a family, have been working our way through the MCU. So we just finished Ant-Man and the Wasp yesterday because it just came to Disney+.
That's a good one.
It was.
I like those.
It was surprisingly good. And it's funny because like we watch one probably once every 2 weeks maybe when we kind of remember. And in Infinity War, like when the snap happened, that happened 2 weeks ago. And the kids have seen it before, so they know it exists. And so like when they watch Ant-Man and the Wasp and like we're on the extra scenes and then Hank Pym and his wife and the Wasp, what's her name? Like they just all float off and disappear. They're like, what?
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, you saw this already. Like you know it was going to happen, but it's still really fun to see their reaction like that. And so now we're on Captain Marvel, which was a fun movie.
Yeah, I liked Captain Marvel. There's a lot of talk about kind of where the MCU is going to go moving forward. It sounds like Captain Marvel might be one of the kind of big, kind of pivotal points, not just in her as a character, but also who else she brings in and kind of how she, attaches to the rest of the stuff. So there's, the end of Captain Marvel, the final scene, goes Nick Fury, he's on his phone, and he gets up and he walks in on a spaceship.
Sword.
Yeah, Sword. Yep. So anybody that doesn't know, there's this whole other comic book thing about Sword versus S.H.I.E.L.D., and Sword is like the space version of S.H.I.E.L.D.
The outward facing.
Yeah.
And, you got to get the people before they actually get to the planet.
Right. And so Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. has a space component to it, which they kind of allude to being attached to what Nick Fury is doing in the very end. And that was one of those cool kind of connection points that they could do something with. They probably won't because they just throw away the TV stuff, it seems like.
Yeah.
But it could be a way that they could end up tying those two things together finally. But I honestly don't think they have a big incentive to do that, so I don't know that they will. But they should. Because there are some good characters in there. Yeah, so that was good to wrap that up. But we've finished a couple of shows recently that we've been watching for a really long time. And so we're now at a point where we're kind of running out of interesting things to watch. We tried to pick up The Expanse. A lot of people talk about that as a sci-fi show. I watched a couple. I don't know. Didn't really do much for me.
Yeah.
Not bad, but just not gripping. We tried to watch Lock and Key, which I enjoyed. My wife did not enjoy.
I've heard really good things about Lock and Key.
She doesn't like anything. I don't like horror movies or shows either. But she doesn't like them more than I don't like them. And I think there was a little bit of like spookiness in this one that was just a little like, she was like, I mean, we can watch it, but I don't really, I don't feel like it tonight. And so that's code for let's not watch that one again. So that's one of those things that I may just have to find a way to watch on my own. Because it was good. I don't know why my throat gets dry every time we do this show now.
Our family has really gotten into Hamilton. I've always wanted to see the play because I had heard really good things about it. And when we went to New York, you can't just like, hey, let's go get tickets to Hamilton on a whim. Because they sell out like forever and they're really expensive. But then it came out on Disney Plus and I got excited. And I thought it was really cool. Like, I like the creativity, like the hip hop mixed with like some historical relevance. Like some people are like, it's not historically accurate, but they talk about a lot of things that are extremely historically accurate. And it's done in a really fun way. And the songs are really well put together. And I guess there's people that just love the soundtrack without having seen the play. And then when they saw it on Disney Plus, like there were a couple added elements to the play that were not included in the soundtrack. And so I just thought it was a light-hearted, fun, like hip-hop history lesson. And then the deeper you go, you're like, oh, like I'm getting emotionally invested in this. And then in the play, his son dies, and I'm like, whoa. And then you see these parents like reacting to their son dying, and then them reacting to each other. Like I got a little choked up. Like there's a song in there that still, like when I was all sad, I'm like, I just want to listen to this song over and over again. But it's really good, and my son really likes it. Like there's a couple bad words, but in the Disney show, and if you play it like with the parental things on the Echo, they omit the language. But yeah, it's been really good, and I just like randomly have those songs in my head now.
Yeah, what am I thinking?
Yeah.
Everybody loves it. Everybody rants and raves about it, which is great. I was not at all interested in listening to it or watching it for I don't know why, for no particular reason. And then I think Jenny heard somewhere that it was, I think mistakenly heard that it was going to be leaving Disney Plus at a certain point. So it was like, well, tonight's our last night to watch it before it goes off, which it didn't.
Oh, no.
So I was like, hey, if you want to watch it, I will sit there
next to you.
And I was like, I can appreciate it. But it stressed me out. Like something about the pace of it. And like, I get that like certain songs are upbeat and musicals are a certain way and they have to keep a certain tempo and the waves of emotion move you through a story. And I understand all that stuff, but it felt like it didn't come down. Like it started with the hip hop rhythms and the quick speech and the quick singing and and then it just didn't stop. And so I got like halfway through the thing and I'm just like, I need to
tired.
Take a break because I can't keep up with it. Like I don't know. And I think if I had been motivated to watch it, maybe that would have been a little bit easier for my brain to hang with, but couldn't. And yeah, so I didn't finish it.
Yeah.
But
have you seen any other plays like in person? Because they're not normally televised.
We used to go to musicals a fair amount growing up. Trying to think of some of the ones. In Louisville, there were a lot of. There's a performing arts center there, Center for the Arts, and they would have a lot of different stage shows. And so we went to several things. Saw Cats and Starlight Express. Have you ever heard of Starlight Express?
I've heard of it. I've never seen it.
It's a Andrew Lloyd Webber musical on roller skates.
Huh.
So everybody is a train car, if I remember correctly. And the stage and the thing that comes out into the audience, it has like kind of some like berms to it, like some banks and turns and stuff. And so they're skating and dancing while they're singing. And I remember just being blown away by that when I was a kid. So yeah, I have seen quite a few, and we've seen several plays and stuff around town. And it's not the musical aspect of it that I didn't get into, but I think it was just the pace. I don't know. And maybe it was just that night too. But
it does slow down at like the second act whenever it gets into the more like emotional stuff. Yeah, I don't know. I thought it was really good.
Yeah.
I had seen Les Mis when I was in middle school. Like we took a field trip to go see it. Mm-hmm. And I just remember thinking like, this is really cool. And at the time, like it had the like I'm going to see a movie kind of feel, and so I just kind of took it for granted as a kid. And now when I watch it as an adult, I'm like, there's no cut.
Yeah.
Like they are dancing and jumping and singing and acting, and they're making me believe them all in one little space that has to move around them. They have to be able to tell time. They have to tell when, I'm taking a thought and I want the audience to be in on my thoughts when the rest of the people can't be in a little soliloquy. Like, I think the mechanics of a play are fascinating.
Yeah.
And I hadn't really thought about that in a while until I saw Hamilton on Disney Plus. And my son was just like watching it and like he liked the songs and he's kind of liked it. I'm like, every single night, probably twice a day, they have to do that flawlessly.
Yeah.
And it was right when we were doing that project where it's like, okay, we're going to need to do another take. And like how many times it took that element to like get through a single point, how many takes it required. I'm like, there's none of that. You do it and you do it correctly. And there was something that I was extremely just fascinated by. And I thought it was really fun. I thought it was kind of cool. I thought it was a cool take. A group of people that were not represented in the time are telling this story. I don't know. I thought the whole thing was pretty awesome. Yeah. And I'm glad that, hooray for Disney Plus for making a sound financial decision so that I could benefit from it.
Have you ever seen Play in the Round?
In London?
Did you see one in London?
No.
No, not the. It's the Round is a stage in the center surrounded by.
Oh, they had that at the Globe Theater.
Yeah.
And I've tried every time I went to London. I've tried to go and catch one, but it's a traveling act, and so I wasn't.
There's a place in Louisville. What's that place called? Derby Dinner, Actors Theater. Yeah. That's what it is. The Actors Theater, they have a stage that comes down out of the ceiling.
Whoa.
And it's a square stage. It's not round. Liars. It's a square stage that comes around down, and it's surrounded by tables. And so is that the one where you eat? I may be mixing two places.
I've never been there. I've been to Actors Theater though, which is also theater in the round.
Does it come down out of the ceiling, or am I thinking of Derby Dinner? Anyway, it doesn't matter. You don't live here, so it doesn't matter. There's a place where you eat and you sit in tables around this center point, and then at some point this ceiling comes down and it's a stage, and we saw Sound of Music there, and they perform, but there's no back, right? Mm-hmm. They're performing in every direction at the same time, and that is pretty wild to watch. Just a different type of direction, I guess, for the people that are directing, but yeah, it's pretty cool.
Well, it just gave me, like, because we produce film here, it's not like a huge budgeted movie set, but just having that appreciation of how many times it takes somebody to get like a usable take to then edit together to make a thing that has a cohesive story everybody can follow along with, everybody can identify the characters, they can identify the plot point, they can invoke emotion at the right moments, like all that I get in my head in the edit. Mm-hmm. And they don't get that opportunity. Like there's dudes under the floor, guys playing piano, that guy's playing the bass, that guy's playing the drums. At a moment where they start doing hip hop to like a harpsichord or a glockenspiel, like that's cool. And I was thoroughly impressed the whole time that I was watching it. And then it like started to like, it was gripping. And I'm like, dang, this is good. My expectations were blown away. And now it's just, we've watched it so many times and listened to it so many times that, what is that?
I got a little,
keep crab?
Going. Yeah, I got a Lego crab.
No,
Anthony, you're not, switch cameras. You're not showing my crab. Look at a little tiny crab.
I have a chicken.
A Lego crab. I won't focus. Ah! Anyway.
Yeah, that's what we're excited about. And my kids ask to watch it a lot because they like hum along with the songs.
Our kids were interested because my mom brought over like a magazine about it. And so the kids looked through that and they got really excited, and we just haven't gotten around to doing it. We wanted to watch it first just because we had heard there was a little bit of language and stuff, and after we watched it we hadn't gotten back to showing it to them, so I'm sure we will at some point.
Yeah, there's some language in there.
How long have we been going?
I don't know.
39 minutes. Do we have some pros and cons?
We should. We asked and the people stepped up.
Good job, people.
Yeah. Can always count on people.
Oh yeah. Our Maker Alliance, who are an awesome group of people, always give us some good things to talk about. All right. Okay, Zach Underwood. Thanks. Hey, Zach. Reggae music.
I like reggae music. But
how much do you like reggae music?
I like reggae music in the background.
Now let me ask you this: how much of reggae music do you like? Quantity-wise, not like, I don't know how to ask that correctly.
6? I don't know. I don't know.
How long can you stand reggae music?
I used to work in a seafood restaurant, And there was the ambient soundtrack playing throughout the dining room. And it was a mixture between like Jimmy Buffett, some people doing terrible covers of Bob Marley songs. UB40 came in occasionally because I think that people just got confused and thought that they were just Jamaicans, not a bunch of white dudes from England. And I remember like when actual reggae music came on, when people were like, it had emotion behind it. I liked it more than just like, I'm in the islands drinking rum. I remember thinking Jimmy Buffett songs are so whiny. Bother me. I'm sad now, my child.
I mean, does Jimmy Buffett count as reggae?
I don't know, does it?
I don't think so. I think
That's
he's
Islander music.
Yeah, I think he's like.
Okay,
Islander
well, never
music.
mind. Then I don't know. Marginally, I don't have a problem with reggae music.
I don't have a problem with it. I was just curious because I have a tolerance for it. You know, like it's fine, but after a while, I'm like, wow, that's the last 2 hours have sounded exactly the same. So I'm ready for something else. I think I've owned maybe one Bob Marley CD when I was in high school or something.
Yeah, me too. I can play Redemption Song on my acoustic guitar. There you go.
Jenny grew up on the beach, so she, you know, listened to a lot of it.
Pina coladas in a chair with parrots.
I'm pretty sure he doesn't count as reggae.
Stupid Jimmy Buffett.
Yes, I agree. All right, so I'm gonna say, meh. Yeah. Don't have a problem with it, but I wouldn't actively listen to. I wouldn't make the choice to listen to reggae. If it was on, I wouldn't throw a fit about it or anything.
Yeah,
but you know,
I think that's
I wouldn't go out of my way. Blisters.
Blisters. I would like to note, while I was in the Army, like we had to do a whole lot of Army-esque stuff that was stupid, but like ruck marching, like getting like a big backpack full of stuff and just like going on a hike.
Mm-hmm.
I enjoyed that. And people hated it because it was heavy and you just like had to go for 12 miles like that way. But a lot of people get massive blisters. And I had hiked and stuff. And so I knew how to take care of my feet. And I never got a single blister on all of the road marches that I really like to do. I would pride myself on never getting blisters. My hands, though. I've got baby hands. I don't like getting my hands dirty. I don't have calluses. So I get blisters on my hands.
You have a motorcycle and you don't like getting your hands dirty?
I have a thing. I don't know if it's like a tactile weird thing, but I don't like my hands being dirty. And so I will get like all in dirty, all in blistery.
Right.
And then like I'm going to spend 30 to 40 minutes cleaning my hands. And then I'm okay.
So you're fine to do it, but when you're done,
it's
you're
the
done.
chaos of
Yeah.
like, I'm going to touch that and that's going to get dirty. And my hands are sticky.
Yeah.
So it's the same kind of thing with blisters. Like I'm going to work all out, probably get some blisters on my hands. And then I'm going to like stab them with the thing and try to get rid of them as fast as possible.
I'm not a fan of blisters. I'm going to go ahead and say
Yeah.
a con there. Not sure why you would say otherwise, but yeah. Thanks, Andrew. Let's see. What else we got?
MSG. I'm a fan of MSG.
Really?
Monosodium glutamate. Yeah, and you are too.
Okay.
Do you like Doritos? Do you like KFC?
Yes.
Do you like Chick-fil-A?
Yes.
Do you like food that tastes awesome?
Yes.
You like MSG. MSG is not bad for you. According to the things I have read, it was a scare tactic back in the day because a bunch of people didn't want Chinese immigrants taking over restaurants, so they tried to scare people away with this thing.
Really?
This MSG. And so that's why there's like no MSG labels, is to try to like calm down the frantic white people. But it makes your food taste awesome. MSG is in Doritos. All that stuff I just said, look it up. That's what makes your food yummy.
So when we were stuck at home and not able to go out to the store or anything, we had a lot of DoorDash, a lot of delivery. And one time I was like trying to figure out something. We'd already ordered the typical stuff that we order. And I'm like, well, let's just go to the DoorDash app and we'll see what else in town, is available. And I'm like, ooh, KFC, man, I haven't had KFC in a really long time. That sounds pretty good. I was like, you kids want to have... Jenny's not in the room. You kids want to have KFC for dinner? And they're like, we've never had KFC. Yeah. And I'm like, actually, you probably have, but it's been long enough that you don't remember. So I order like a 16-piece big 2 buckets
In the
chicken.
bucket? Yep.
2 buckets. And, like several sides, mashed potatoes, coleslaw, biscuits. And we ravaged that food, and it was so good.
Yep.
So good. And the kids all loved it, and they were like asking when we can do it again. And man, it had been a really long time. It's not good for you. I get it.
No.
But man,
It is awesome.
it is so good.
You know that KFC is a holiday treat in Japan?
I've heard
They
that.
have it for Christmas meal.
The kids all brought that up. I don't know where they heard it, but yeah, they brought that up as well. It was funny because we were looking at the bucket and has a picture of Colonel Sanders on the side. And so we're just talking along and stuff, and they're like, "Is that guy a real guy?" I'm like, "Yeah, that's Colonel Sanders." And they're like, "Oh, who is he?" And I'm like, "Well, he's just a guy, but your granddad met him one time, my dad."
Oh, really?
Yeah. And they were like freaking out because this drawing of this guy on the side of this chicken bucket, they were blown away that their grandfather had met him. Apparently, my dad was like he worked for a moving company when he was in college, and he was moving somebody somewhere. And Colonel Sanders drives up to see the guy before he moved.
Well.
And came up and had a little interaction with him. But anyway, I don't know the whole story, so I don't want to make it up. But he did meet him.
KFC loaded with MSG.
I don't care.
Nom nom nom.
Excellent.
Yes. I tried to find it, and it's hard to find.
I mean, like, is it a liquid?
No, it's a powder. It just looks like salt. It's a really fine salt. And it comes in like a pouch. Yeah, we have the Asian grocery store in town, and I went in there one day, and I was just so, like, overloaded with awesome stuff that I saw in there that I forgot to look for MSG. Monosodium glutamate.
It feels like one of those things, like, if you were to ask them if they had MSG, do you think that would be taken as, like, an insult?
I don't think so.
Just because of the whole...
No, I think that they're like, finally, there's a white boy that knows that MSG is not a bad thing. Yeah.
Interesting.
How much we can get on Amazon? McCormick Culinary Flavor Enhancer.
Wow.
That's what they label it as, and they put MSG in tiny little letters because I think people are still skittish.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I didn't know that. I'd never heard that it wasn't a...
Oh, yeah. That's the... Yeah, Anthony's pulling some up right now. Ajinomoto.
All right, let's look at our
Umami
list.
seasoning.
Let's do a few more. What do we have? Raid Shadow Legends.
Okay, so when my son was binge watching YouTube videos there for a while, as we talked about last week, getting better at doing that, he asked me...
Getting better at watching them?
Yeah, we're getting better at not binge watching those videos.
Gotcha.
He asked me so many times if we could download like the Ships game or the Raid Shadow Legends or the whatever like microtransaction stupid mobile game. I'm like, no, man, we're not doing that. He's like, no, but this game is free and it's played by all these people and I get this much gold and this much. I'm like, no. They're microtransaction games. All they do is waste time and you have to pay for stuff. It's a money grab. No, but this one isn't. I'm like, buddy, these companies reach out to us because they have tons of money because it's a money grab.
Yep.
He's like, well, can I at least just start a website with Wix? I'm like, no, stop watching YouTube videos. You're only allowed to ask for Casper mattresses.
That's right.
And
They're not a sponsor anymore.
And Hello Fresh meals.
So when my boys, they badgered me about Fortnite forever. Have we already talked? I don't know, I guess we talked about it.
We talked about Fortnite, yeah.
Well, yeah, but not since they started playing it. They badgered me about it forever. And then, because one of the boys that lives near here, like, he plays, he's a little bit older, and he plays, and they wanted to play with him. And so he tells them about all the different little, oh, there's a new skin, and there's the battle pass, and there's the this and the thing. It's free, same thing. And so they were all asking, and we had a conversation about, like, trying to give them a little bit more freedom in their game time and, like, letting them enjoy it with their friends, not just being a thing where they are alone on the...
Yeah.
But doing it with their siblings or with their friends. And so... and they were bothering me about this battle pass. It's like $5.99 or $10.99 or something. I don't remember. And so one night while they were asleep, I go and I install Fortnite, and I'm like, I'm going to buy them this one thing. And I had already talked to him about the microtransaction thing, and like, I'm not paying for your garbage. I'm not paying for your skins.
For your nothing.
For your nothing, right. And I told him this, and I told him that, you're going to get one, and then you're going to want another one, and then you're going to want another one, and you're going to end up dumping your very small amount of money that you have into a thing, and you're not going to get anything back for it. So we talked about this. So I go install Fortnite, and I realized that I set it up on. They each have an account on the Switch, and I realized that like you have to. All those purchases are per account. It's not per machine. And so I'm like, well, I'm going to get them the Battle Pass. I'll surprise them. They have this one thing, and I'm going to tell them, like, I bought you this one thing. Enjoy it. I'm done.
Yep.
I'm not doing it anymore, right?
All done.
But I had to buy it 3 times for all 3 boys. I'm like, okay, whatever. It's $30. It's like I would spend more than that on a game for myself, okay, one time. So I buy this thing for them, and then they start playing, and they enjoy it, and they're super grateful, and they play for a little while, and then they're like, oh, I just want to buy some more V-Bucks because I almost have enough to get the next little skin guy or whatever. I don't know the thing. But you have to put in a little bit of money. And I'm like, we've talked about this. I don't want to do this. If you guys want to spend your money, I've given you the warning. Now it's your responsibility. If you want to blow your money, you're blowing it. And I don't care, and I'm not going to deal with it anymore. So I'm giving the hard lesson, right? And so they come to me with $5 bills, and they're like, I would like to buy the thing, the skin for whatever. I'm like, okay. So pull out the Switch, I put in my card, buy them the thing, take the $5, transaction done. This happens like 3 times between 3 kids, between 2 kids. So they buy these things, and then like a week later, they're coming in, and they're like, yeah, there's a new skin on the thing, but I don't have any money. I'd like to get it again. And then one of the other ones is like, yeah, I don't really want to play Fortnite anymore because I'm really bad at it, and it's not fun unless you're good at it. And I'm like, yeah, the skins don't make you any better at it, do they? He's like, no. I'm like, yeah, but you put $10 of your own money into a game that now you don't want to play because you're no good at it.
You could have invested that in a slow growth mutual fund, sir.
It was funny because, like, I don't know. I guess that's the dad thing to do, but I felt really vindicated and be like, I told you so.
Yep.
I told you so. You can still play it. You can enjoy those skins. But I told you ahead of time that this was going to happen and you were going to blow your money. And all of them are like, you were right.
Well, fart.
I mean, they totally admitted it. This game's not fun anymore. We threw away some money. And now we're not going to buy any more of this stuff. So I guess if anything, it was a collective lesson for that type of microtransaction stuff. So the next time a game comes up, I can remember Fortnite.
Yep.
We don't want to do that again. So
remember?
Yeah. And I told you about playing with them and winning.
Yeah.
The first time. Yeah.
You look like a
That
hero.
was pretty awesome. And I was like, all right,
skins.
My career is over. I'm done. All right, let's do a couple more. Pickles. Pickles. I like pickles.
I like pickles on things. Like on a sandwich, on a hamburger, but like reaching in and someone just like eating a pickle seems really gross to me.
Really?
Yeah. No way. Huh. Growing up in, I don't know if it's just like a southern thing, but I talked about this earlier. Both of our first jobs, strangely enough, were working in a snow cone shop, like obviously in different places, and we had a dill pickle flavor. And people used to get it, and they'd be like, ooh, so excited. And I'm like, icky. Why would you do that? That is just, ew. That's just like liquid salt brine. Like, okay, you want salty vinegar on your thing, like, whatever. Have at it. But
yeah, that's...
And it's like watching people just like crunch on like a whole pickle just seems gross. Like someone drinking a glass of milk seems gross. And then someone eating a pickle sounds gross.
Somebody drinking a glass of milk?
Yeah. Grody. It's all thick and like.
Oh, I disagree with you there.
Yeah, it's. But if you cut those pickles up, like I like bread and butter pickles, they're kind of sweet pickles. Yeah. Put them on a hamburger, put them on a hot dog, put them on a sandwich, all day. My son.
Interesting.
He was. What the heck was happening? Something was happening where there were pickles. Now I'm like, do you even know what a pickle is? He's like, no. I was like, what's a cucumber that somebody put in like a salty vinegar thing and it turned into a pickle? And he was like, well, what if you pickle a pickle? I'm like, I don't think you're understanding what I'm talking. He's like, yeah, I understand, but like, what if you pickle a pickle? You would get something way better.
Turns
I'm
into
like,
a carrot.
Well, it's the same thing. You're just leaving it be a same thing. And it went on for like 20 minutes. And he's like, no, I get it. But. Oh, who put eggplant on there?
Con. hard con.
Ew.
On that one. Yeah. Not a fan of that
No,
one.
thank you.
All right, a couple more. What else we got?
Ooh, where'd it go? Okay,
I don't know.
there was a combination of things in there that spurred something. Someone says hot chocolate.
How could hot chocolate be a con?
Yeah, yummy. And then there was something about a bed or a couch or something, a leather. Scroll down. Leather sofas. How do you feel about leather sofas?
I have 2 leather sofas. I really like leather sofas.
Do you?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't mind leather sofas. I've never owned one because I feel like they're too fancy.
Hmm.
But hot chocolate and leather sofas made me think about something that I thought about the other day.
Title.
Tiff and I were talking about pudding for some reason
Okay.
with one of the kids, and she went, "Ooh, what if you had a waterbed, but instead of a waterbed, you put pudding in it?" Right?
Huh.
Not a bad idea.
It's not a
I
bad
don't think
idea.
it's a bad idea because you get no support from a waterbed. You probably get
A little bit.
some like marked index more support from a pudding bed.
Huh. Well, I mean, like the wave transfer would be knocked down
Mhm.
a lot too.
You'd still get some of the squishiness.
Hmm.
It would be sealed, so it probably wouldn't smell when your pudding eventually started to rot from beneath you. Pudding bed, just saying.
Huh.
That idea is copyright. I like to make stuff. LLC, 2020.
Speaking of pudding, do you like tapioca pudding?
I can't ever recall having tapioca pudding, to be honest with you.
It sounds disgusting. Sounds like something I wouldn't want to eat. But
It's
I've
like
had it.
curdled pudding. It's got like
No, no,
something
no.
in it.
It has tapioca balls, or I don't know what they're called.
Seeds?
I don't know. They're like squishy things.
Okay.
It's good. It tastes like vanilla, but it has like a little texture to it.
I can see where people would be off put by that.
Yeah, for sure. It sounds gross, but it was fine.
The smell of new tires. Smell of new tires smells like around $800 to me.
Gone.
I just did that.
Yeah.
I
I don't know. I'm indifferent.
I think it means something. So I guess I would say pro in that it means either you're gonna have a better ride, or you have a new vehicle, or you know.
Well,
so-
some people have a thing where they really love that smell of road tar. Yeah, my grandmother had that. Like when they're resurfacing the road, that like tar smell.
What is wrong with my children?
They're children. They got little feet.
True.
But she loved that smell. So
Huh.
I think maybe like along that line, some people really dig that
Yeah.
smell. I don't know.
Interesting.
What else we got, Anthony?
Well, I'm gonna say pro for the tires.
Yeah, sure. I remember sitting in a tire shop with my dad as a kid, this one Goodyear dealership, and I don't know why we went there so often. But I remember sitting there with my dad, and it was like a good kind of smell, and it's just like you would have to waste an entire Saturday watching like Bonanza reruns on a TV in a corner of a room while you waited hours.
Root beer.
I like root beer.
I don't drink sodas.
Yeah, me neither.
I love root beer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Hey, did I tell you the fun root beer? I've told the fun root beer story about convincing Belgian people that it was actual beer.
Actual beer, American beer.
Yeah. And then it made me think that all foreigners loved root beer. And this helicopter crew from England came over to Belgium and hung out. And I'm like, oh, man, you got to try one of these. I know you people like it. And a guy tried it and spit it out. He's like, this tastes like liquid icy hot. Why would you want to put this in your body?
All right. One more. You pick it. Find something interesting.
Anthony's on. Spin the wheel. Standing desks. I have a standing desk. Well, I have a convertible desk that I can stand at.
You don't really make it stand
I don't.
often. Do you forget about it?
Yeah,
Or-
I do, honestly.
Yeah.
Well, I haven't been here in like a year
Well,
and a half.
that's true.
But yeah, I honestly forget that it's a standing desk.
I don't mind standing while I'm at a desk, but I would rather just sit down if I have the option to. Like, I don't know. I get the idea if you sit down a whole lot. I'm kind of in and out of a chair all day long anyway, so it's not like I spend a whole lot of time just sitting.
I'm trying to remember now if I allowed for my cables to be able to go all the way up because I was very meticulous about cable management, and I wanted my desk to be able to like easily accept and unplug my computer and all the stuff. And I think I can still make it a standing desk. Yeah, maybe I'll go turn it a standing desk right now in lieu of that pro or con. For sure. Pro. Why
Cool.
not?
All right. Well, let's wrap this one up. Where can people find you?
On social media, again, at Josh_make stuff.
He's back.
Yeah.
Kind of. And you can find all of us at I Like to Make Stuff on all the stuff, except for Twitter, where it's I Like to Make Stuff with one F, because they have a character limit. Big thanks to our Maker Alliance, because they are an awesome group of people. They have been continuing to hang out with us, even though the last several months have been kind of wacky.
Yep.
We still do the monthly hangout with people of a certain tier, and that's really cool because it's turned into a group of people that we always like. It's good to see you again. It's good to see you. Let's share stories, and everybody knows what everybody's working on. And
New person, introduce yourself, become part of the crew.
yeah. That's pretty cool. And then there's a bunch of other perks and stuff, discounts and this and that, which I'm glad to see a lot of the Maker Alliance has taken advantage of the discount for the Fusion course.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Which is a perfect segue.
See what I did there?
There. Softball. I'm going to knock it out. This Friday, we have our second monthly webinar, our live monthly webinar, where Bob and I field your questions in real time while I happen to build like an actual project. So this Friday at 6 p.m., that information has been sent out to all of the Fusion 360 for Makers users who have signed up for the email, because there's no other way for me to notify you. So if you want to know about cool stuff, you should sign up for the email thing. We're going to be doing canvases. People asked us about canvases. So like taking a picture of something and then putting it in a workspace and then modeling off of like an existing picture. So that's this Friday, the 5th of August.
Or September, whenever it is.
Yeah,
I don't know.
it's Friday. At 6 p.m. on the unpublished live YouTube video specifically for the course users. So get on that.
Yes, get on that.
I Like to Make Stuff /Fusion and check out the course if you haven't already. It's pretty great.
I think that's it for this week. Thank you for coming back with us, and we will do it again soon.
Yeah.
See ya.
Bye-bye.
I'm making a skeleton with a hat.